when this man sees you, ladies, regardless of how great the chemistry is, because oftentimes we are looking for the sparks to fly. We're looking for the chemistry to be off the chain amazing. A lot of times, all that connection is trauma bonding. That's all it is. It is your subconscious mind recognizes the same characteristics that attracted you to the last guy because it stems from whatever the traumas and the love blocks that was birthed in childhood. So when you see a guy, his testosterone is triggered. Why is his testosterone triggered? His desire for sex is triggered for you. So when he pursues you, his biochemistry is saying, I want to have sex with her. I am willing to have sex with her. That's what it's saying. Ma'am, he doesn't know you from Sally's Adam Cat. So no matter how great the conversation is, men don't bond like that. You might have been talking to him for 5, 6, 7 hours and you think the chemistry is amazing. And you, because women are auditory and we are emotional, so we don't really need much in order for us to start producing oxytocin, which is our bonding hormone. We don't need much. But for a man, he requires more. He requires different. Put this in your notes, ladies. Men fall harder and take longer to get over heartbreak than a woman. Put that down. Men fall harder. They fall harder and it takes them longer. And when a man falls for you, his testosterone drops, which is a risk to a man. Because when a man's testosterone starts to drop, he loses certain abilities that come with him being a man. Dr. Helen Fisher, she talks about how when his testosterone is triggered, it is lust at first sight. It's never love at first sight. So understand what his primary goal is. His primary goal is procreation. That's how humans are able to keep the human species alive. So after the first phase, the attraction phase, you enter into the second phase, which is the courting phase. In the courting phase, ladies, this is the phase where he is doing the work to get it. What is he getting? Okay? Y'all use your imagination. He wants to get your snacks, your yummy yummies. Your cookie monster. That's what he wants to get. That's his goal. That's what you need to tell yourself the truth, but that's what his ultimate goal is. So this man is pursuing you. As he is pursuing you, here's what's happening to him biochemically. His testosterone and his serotonin is dropping. But what's going up is his vasopressin and dopamine. Now, for a woman to bond, it requires oxytocin and dopamine. For a man to bond, it requires vasopressin and dopamine. When a man is falling for you, ladies, as he's pursuing you. So when a man is pursuing you, ladies, you know when he's like excited for you and he is like really into you and he is like showing up, calling you, everything else. And then when you're into him, you want to know what's happening? They're not all lying. They're not all faking. Like he really is falling for you. He's starting to produce that vasopressin. He's starting to produce that dopamine and he's falling for you. But here's what happens, the part where he starts to drop off and lose interest. Ladies, if you start to chase him, if you start to be the one that is trying to prove your worth and your value to him, then what that does is it causes his vasopressin to drop. It also causes his testosterone that caused him to pursue you to drop. You're biochemically interrupting the process. Because when a man is doing for you, it makes him feel good. His masculine energy, the testosterone, that doing energy produces more vasopressin. So the more he does for you, the more he's falling for you. As he's falling for you, he's producing vasopressin and dopamine. However, here's the caveat. It takes a man at least 2.5 to 3 months to really biochemically fall for you. Why? Because even though he's been producing that vasopressin and that dopamine, his receptors there's not enough to catch him. His testosterone is also too high. So if he's the kind of man that's in the market, or if he's finding you sexually attractive, that produced a surge in testosterone. In order for his receptors to receive the vasopressin to be present, according to Don Maslar, then that means he needs time in order to biochemically fall for you. So if you're jumping in bed with him, according to Dr. Don Maslar, it causes an interruption in the vasopressin and the vasopressin starts to go down. Also, what happens is called the Coolidge effect. The Coolidge effect is when his testosterone is no longer triggered by you. He's no longer sexually triggered to pursue you anymore. He needs time. So how do you give him that time? How do you keep him hooked enough, long enough for him to have the time to produce those receptor sites so that it can catch the vasopressin, so that it can catch the dopamine? How do you do that? Curiosity, anticipation. Before you give him your nook, ma'am, you gotta give him your mind. You gotta get his mind. If you give him this before you have gotten this, ma'am, you're done. It's done. Call it a wrap. It's dead on arrival. Okay? Clock out. It's time to sit this one out. Game over. There's nothing you can do. And that's the problem, because a lot of times women think that the more sex that we give a man, then that's going to revive his initial attraction to us, but it's not. Remember, the Coolidge effect. Y'all, this has been studied by science. Y'all, listen, I have so many different books. I have books literally all in my office. I have closets full of books. I have been studying this for 2 decades. I graduated pre-med biology. When I kept getting played all the time, over and over and over again, the one thing I knew is that science is indisputable. If I could figure out the formula based in science, then I can figure out how to be able to attract my soulmate. And I found myself after being in one abusive relationship after another, because I grew up in a very toxic household. I grew up watching my mother being beaten by my father. I grew up watching men cheating on their women all the time. I grew up with this example. And even though I said I would not attract that kind of man, I kept attracting those toxic, narcissistic, dysfunctional relationships over and over and over again. So when I was on food stamps and homeless in an old couch after I was homeless and then moved into a basement apartment, I looked at my daughter and I promised her that mommy was going to figure it out and that she was going to see the example of what love looks like. She was going to be able to see her mom being loved so she knows how to get love. And the pattern of dysfunctional abusive relationship stops with me. So then I did a dating experiment. I went on 100 dates in 3 months. I interviewed over 4,000 men, women, and couples. I come from a pharmaceutical sales background, so studying studies is my jam. That's what I do. I study studies. I love science. Anything science, I was, like I said, I was going to be a doctor. So I love science. So these books and these authors are talking about the science of attraction. This has been documented and studied over and over again. So when the Build-A-Bears are telling you, oh, it doesn't matter when you have sex with a man. It doesn't matter. No matter what, you can do what you want to do. Like a man's going to love you no matter what. He's lying. When he's saying, I want a woman who takes charge. I want a woman who can shoot her shot. He's lying. Biochemically, he's lying. It does not work for him. When I figured out the science of attraction, I went from getting played all the time. And I've told you guys my story over and over again about the time. I wasn't just getting regular played. Like I was getting big time played. And I went from getting played all the time to getting paid. And when I say paid, I had a man buy me a house. I got a car. I got trips, shopping sprees. I got tickets to the Masters, the Open, the Super Bowl, concert tickets, whatever I wanted. I got whatever it is that I wanted. And I'm telling you guys the secrets. I'm telling you guys the way they work because I mastered it and I learned it. And y'all keep listening to these Build-A-Bears with the podcast. Y'all got Akon. Y'all got Akon telling y'all that men are the kings and women are supposed to serve the man and how men are the divine ones. And how a man can make a baby by himself. I'm telling y'all, go look up the video. This is what he said. Okay? So you got Build-A-Bears like that and many others that are sitting there telling you that you have to prove your value. You have to prove your worth. And then you have women now flipping the script, trying to pursue and earn a man, not realizing that it's working against you. According to Dr. Luann Brizendine, she said that this is how you tell in any species which species is considered the prize. Akon, sit down and learn something, okay, about science, because your science ain't sciencing. You have no idea what you're talking about, sir. You and Umar, or whatever the hell your name is, you don't either. According to Dr. Brizendine, in any species, it is the one who has the biggest risk at procreation. Whatever is the one that has the biggest risk. Whatever is the one that has to produce the most energy to procreate is the prize.